Actually, everyone at this table is pretty unanimous on all their input. What's important about, and then, I added a little bit of my own. But, the things that are really important for people here is maintaining the original purpose of the street, having safe ways to get in and out of their neighborhood for evacuation or safety issues, maintaining a quiet neighborhood, safe protected intersections, maintaining a residential neighborhood, and safety for people driving their cars. I added my own opinion, all modes of transportation. And I added promoting the goals of the climate action plan, but the group didn't really agree with me on that. And then a big thing important to everybody is a sense of community and everyone kind of working together. There's a couple other things, but those are the main. Oh, also, don't run a business in the street. So then, when we got to the things that people were experiencing now, it was pretty much all negative, and please respect I'm talking, okay? There's a lot of safety issues. There's debris in the streets. There's faster speeds in the alley. There's no enforcement. There's impacted views. People are running commercial businesses. The ballards have a commercial look. The city doesn't maintain the ballards. There's no supporting study for what was done, both for safety, congestion, and sea level rise. Residents didn't have a voice in what happened. Cars and runners and bicycles and everyone, they don't stop at the stop sign. And then, once again, the device, and I chimed in with this, it's caused both a divisive neighborhood and a divisive community, which I think is a big issue. And so that's pretty much it. I mean, and then this is my own piece here. We have seen an increase in pedestrians, skaters, and bicycles in that area. And for the future, it's pretty simple. Put it back to what it was. And let's see, no pavement markings, cut the shrubs that are blocking the visions, fix the potholes. And this is my own thing, which no one else agreed with, is put in crosswalks, mark the crosswalks, and put in safety signs in the crosswalks to try and encourage people to slow down.
We've elected a presenter.
I would love to, whoever wants to.
Great.
Please.
Okay.
Thank you.
What's important about Diamond Street, this group, we want it to be sensibly safe. You can't make heads or tails with what the bollards are really doing. A lot of confusion. We want people to obey the signs with maybe some enforcement. So I understand, I thought there was only one day, but I found out there were 2 days where they had motorcycle cops out there. 2 days since last 4th of July. I think that's amazing. This is the biggest thing that everybody really wants. They want accessibility. They want access to their homes. They want to be able to go in and out of their driveway without feeling like they're going to hit somebody every time. For me, accessibility is the alleyway, because now the traffic on Missouri Street and the alley between Diamond and Missouri has tripled, and it's not safe. And we want to be able to provide input. We were just informed that the PD community had no input, and that there was a group within the city of San Diego that made the decision. I asked Joe LaCava's representative to share who that is. She wasn't able to, so I'm hoping to, Sorry, was it you? Yes, look at it. I know it was one of you.
You asked me. So I work for the Sustainability and Mobility Department, not Joe LaCava's office, but I've got your name down and we'll
Oh,
get in
okay.
touch.
All right. Unfortunately, you dress alike.
We do.
But I would love to have that introduction to. So that's what we're after in terms of what's important and what our experience is. Again, the bollards are confusing. They're really confusing when they're not there.
Yeah.
Really confusing. And there's safety issues. On the street, there's markings that direct bicycles and pedestrians to go down, straight down the middle of the street. Because it's a safe street. Well, it's not a safe street, it's traffic calming. It was a safe street during the pandemic. But the bottom line is, it's confusing, and I believe the city is opening themselves up to a big liability should someone get hit by a car. Even if it's a drunk coming back from the bars. Hey, I'm on the safe street. The city's liable. Emergency access is inadequate. We have ex-San Diego Fire here at our table, and the route from La Jolla to back up PB takes a lot longer because of the access through La Jolla. Bike safety, that's the given, especially when you're trying to get out of your driveway. The stop signs, I mean, it's like the signals in PB. If you're stopped at a red light and you get a green, you gotta wait for about 15, 20 seconds to make sure someone's not gonna blow through a red or yellow going red. So, the stop signs are always being run. We think it's in the wrong place in PB. You know, I think it could be a lot of different places, but Diamond is not the right place. And it's inconvenient. A lot of inconvenience. So, the future. Why don't we just open up Diamond Street? Everybody, we want if you're going to do traffic calming, put some teeth into it. Put some roundabouts in. Put some permanent structures, not some. And this is what Joe LaCava said a year ago when we had a Zoom call. He's like, well, you know, they're temporary. Well, great. They're not working. Let's temporarily get them out of there and think about a real solution that will solve the traffic calming. Put speed bumps in. I'm even up for a one-way street. Half of it's a bike lane, half of it's a one-way. And you have one street going this way, the other street going that way, and guess what? You have a protected area for pedestrians and bikes. Not the way it is now. Enforcement. This is like the e-bikes on the boardwalk. We have signs up, you can't be on the boardwalk on an e-bike. Well, you know what? Every time I tell somebody, they answer me with this. Okay? So we have no enforcement, and another idea was, hey, let's put it 20 miles an hour. But again, we're not going to enforce it by law. That's all we got.
To our group, a lot of the same things in terms of what's important. Again, we heard a lot about safety for cars, lack of confusion, drivability, opening up the street, not having like this kind of confusing, unsafe barricade situation. Other things that were mentioned were just the general aesthetics of how the bollards look right now, not being like very beautiful for the community. The even distribution of traffic, so not necessarily directing vehicles, like allowing vehicles to use the grid system within our neighborhood as opposed to like forcing them to use particular streets. So someone mentioned that they really Diamond is one of the safe crossing locations in terms of getting across Ingram, which we all know can be really challenging. So making sure that everyone is not directed away from the safest crossing location when they're driving.
Not walking in the road.
Right, not walking in the road. So like separation of the different kinds of modes, bikes, people driving, people walking in their own space. Anything else? about providing access to St. Bridget's specifically, which is right there on Cass and Diamond, and not encouraging people to break the law by having this kind of enticing, confusing situation at the location with the ball. In terms of things we're seeing out there right now, again, like this issue with people either being confused or just not following the law, not using the dividers correctly and going around them. A lot of people not stopping at the stop signs. We're assuming maybe that the other direction is going to stop, and then like bikes or pedestrians plowing through the intersection without stopping, and then if that creates unsafe and confusing conditions, just not having a direct route along Diamond Street. What else did we talk about? A lot of the issues around specifically at where the dividers are, just confusion about how you use them, people using them in an unsafe way, not stopping in the right way at those locations. We did talk a little bit about specifically cut-through traffic at the St. Bridget's parking lot, that people are using the parking lot to cut through and avoid the bollards at Cass and Diamond. Some issues with speeding. What else? Oh, and then the running group that's kind of loud and uses Diamond on Saturday, I think it's Saturday morning, whatever. Whatever morning the thing is, like, yeah, I only see them one time when I'm out and about. Like you said, other locations could be more appropriate. What else is, am I missing anything, Drew?
Well, the disproportionate that the traffic is getting moved to.
Right, and moving and displacement of traffic, I guess I would say. And then the maintenance costs and the enforcement costs of having to replace the infrastructure as it gets taken away or damaged.
That's peaceful protest.
Right. And again, like you mentioned, Chris, more political disagreement in the community around this specific issue. In terms of ideas for the future, the same thing, removing the bollards, kind of going back to the configuration that we had before. There was some mixed support for the idea of speed bumps as one option, or traffic circles, like some of you all have mentioned, and the reduced speed limits, and adding the pavement markers, the surfboard markers that we have on some of the other streets on the pathways, and then also the idea of limiting heavy vehicle traffic on Diamond, and then just generally repaving and fixing the potholes would be something to see. And so that is, I think I captured everything. I think that's all of our future ideas. Yeah. So that was our group. Ryan.
All right, we had a mixed group, but I think we found areas of agreement. In terms of values, the number one value was definitely safety. That was reiterated a lot, followed fairly closely by like aesthetics that everyone was kind of agreeing is important. There was a talk about like it being a corridor, and this was kind of taken, either way. It's either a really great corridor for east-west bike travel, or it needs to serve as a corridor and like take its fair share of traffic in the community. There was discussions about like four-way stop signs and how that's was a really beneficial safety feature for all modes of traffic. That's something that Diamond Street has a lot of. There was also talk about like Diamond Street being a place for children to play safely, valuing like the communal aspects of the street, that like a street should be someplace where people feel a sense of community. There was discussion on like property values and how that might be impacted by the slow streets negatively. And it was definitely, there was agreement that like safety is over other concerns, but that aesthetics and other things like do matter. Let's see, in terms of how is using Diamond Street today, we had a range from hell to nuisance, to no problem, to it's positive. So kind of captured the whole range there. There was use other streets to avoid Grand and to avoid having to navigate around the different turns. Using the parking lot at St. Bridget's to swirl around and make sure you can make turns you want. That the stop signs weren't being respected and that people do all sorts of illegal traffic maneuvers. so that, the implementations, if it's not working or people are like doing a bunch of weird things, it becomes like less safe. There were other people that were saying, no problem, or that the slower speeds were positive. Reduced traffic to the beach was definitely noticed because locals know to not use that as a route to the beach. There was a happy with the effort and that they were able to teach their child to ride a bike on that street, which was an important aspect. And then yeah, again, that four-way stop signs makes it a preferred route for driving, as mentioned. All right, and then in terms of what would we like to see in the future of Diamond Street, we had rolled back to the 2019 implementation, so that would be like removing the bollards, opening the street. There was also the other side of like permanent bollards, so like kind of everyone was in agreement that the current implementations ugly and not working. I was talking about like pedestrian islands. There was agreement that like more enforcement of traffic measures or more enforceable traffic measures. So there was skepticism around like lowering the speed limit, if that would like do anything on its own. There was also like labeling two-way and four-way stops. So a lot of communities will have like hey, this is only a two-way stop, or cross traffic does not stop, since that can be challenging in some intersections. And more four-way stops like where it makes sense, like kind of recognizing that like some streets are more through streets and some streets, four-way stops are really helpful for safety. Anything else that I missed?
No, that sounds good.
All right.
Okay, oh my gosh, we are 2 minutes ahead of time. Awesome. So I just want to talk very quickly about the next steps with this subcommittee and with all of this input. So we do have city folks here today listening in, but what we want to do is after today, compile, take pictures of all of the notes you're taking, compile all of your comments and note cards, and make sure that that gets to our elected officials and city staff that work on these projects. And what I hope to do is put it together kind of a summary and some kind of report that we can also post to at least our website, hopefully the Discover PB website, which is where our parking committee lives, so that everyone can like download that information and take a look at it as well. From there, we're going to continue to listen to what people are saying, get more output as it's coming in. If folks can't make it, weren't able to make it to the meeting tonight, I did want to point out at the very bottom there is my email address. So if you have comments that you think of in the night tonight and like, oh my gosh, I wanted to say that, or if you know folks who wanted to come tonight but couldn't for whatever reason, just go ahead and shoot that into an email, and I'll add this into the comment summary that I'm going to put together. So what we plan to do, in terms of this particular subcommittee, then is compile everything that we've heard here today, and I will answer your questions, Scott, just a second. Compile everything that we've heard today, as well as all of the other meetings that we've had more broadly on our PB Pathways project for Phase 3, develop a draft set of recommendations that we then take to our full Community Parking District Board. So that board meets on the second Tuesday of the month, and it's a public meeting as well. It meets at the Discover PB offices. Anyone can attend. So what we'll do is we'll just bring all of this input and those recommendations to that board. That board will then take it, probably the way that we'll have to do it is give a report first on what we've done and the recommendations, and then allow that board, which is made up of all of our other community groups, to distribute that information out to their groups. We really want to make sure that it's getting out to the broad community, and then come back for a discussion and vote on how we might move forward on the next phase of this project. Then, assuming we recommend some kind of changes, whatever that might look like, we would then take those recommendations to city staff and start looking for how we might actually pay for and implement anything that we decide to do as part of the next phase. So I will, in terms of timing, I should have mentioned at the start, this is an all-volunteer effort. It's really contingent on me being able to find time to compile all this stuff and some of our other volunteers getting all the information together and then making sure that we can get it in time and have time on our agenda. So in be on the agenda for just a report back in June, but if my June gets really busy, it might be pushed further into the summer. So I would say, please make sure that you've given us your email address. Keep an eye on that parking district agenda because that will be published in advance so you know when like the discussion is going to be happening at that group. I anticipate it happening over the next couple of months. It gets tricky with some of the community groups going dark in the summer. That's like why I'm a little tentative on timing. But I would hope to have all of the discussion wrapped up early fall. Because we will not, I don't think, have any more meetings of this particular subcommittee at this point to bring it up to our full parking district board.
How were people invited to this meeting?
Different ways. We posted it online, we posted it as a public meeting, it was noticed, it went out to our mailing list that we have.
Online, Discover PB.
Yeah, on our parking district website, which is on the Discover PB website, and then it also went out to all of our, there's a parking district mailing list, which is our board of our parking district, but also anyone who's shown up at our meetings as well.
Yeah, we announced it at the town council and the planning group, and then I tried to forward it on to as many people as I've ever come in contact on it.
I signed up in February and I never got any emails.
Oh, I got a bounce back on your email, so I'm not sure.
I sent you, Katie, at the PB or Discover PB office when you had that little meeting we went, and I never got anything.
Yeah,
Okay.
I
Meetings
don't
on
know
the
what's
street
going
3 days
on.
ago, and I almost was in Irvine today, but I made an effort
Oh,
to be
I'm
here.
sorry to hear that.
I
Okay,
mean,
well, let's
Yeah,
make sure that
we might need an audit on that.
It's just shady all the time, like
Yeah.
we're never informed, it is only select groups. When I looked at the invite list, it looked like everybody on beautiful PB and the planning group, and that was it. And it was like, what about the rest of PB?
Well, I'll say we're doing our best to get the word out there and make sure that everyone is getting properly notified. But I apologize if you didn't get on the email, and definitely there's sign-up sheets going around. Like, let's make sure, please make sure that if you want to be on that mailing list, that that you're legibly written on there too, and that so we can make sure that you're informed moving forward, because I want to make sure that everyone is
So do I need to do anything more than put my email there, or do I need to go to another?
Join the
place?
community groups and become a board
She's
member.
I mean, definitely do that.
Or join
I'm sorry, I didn't hear your answer.
I mean, definitely, the community groups all have like open spaces, so there are other opportunities for sure in the community to get involved.
And
Scott, I wanted to ask, Cindy, go ahead.
I
But
was just
want
gonna
Scott-
say, subscribe to our newsletter. You can go to the Discover PB website and sign up for our newsletter. And all the meeting notices come out through the newsletter, on the newsletter every month. So you know where they are.
When I got a passed down from Sunny notice of this meeting, that somebody passed it to me.
Okay.
She had written it on Friday or Thursday. Her date for her thing was on Thursday. And at the very bottom of that notification, it said, anybody needing hearing impaired or needing an interpreter, please contact us 5 days ahead of time. And that was already past the 5 days when she sent her notice out. So that needs to be fixed.
Okay, that's good, but thanks. All right, Scott has one more thing to add, and then we do need to make time for non-agenda public comment too, but Scott, did you have something related to this agenda?
Yep. It says, bullet 2, revised recommendations. Are there existing recommendations that are going to be revised, or is that just make recommendations?
There is a set of recommendations that we discussed at our last month's meeting of this subcommittee that were more focused on the broader network, not necessarily on Diamond specifically. We wanted to wait until this meeting to hear what folks have to say before anything gets compiled around that. So there is some draft ideas about what roads should be focused on in the next phase and what kinds of things you want to see on those roads.
There's copies of those slides if you would like to see them in the back.
Yeah, I mean, and
And I
that,
think if one of the points of this meeting is to revise recommendations, I think those recommendations should be part of the agenda here tonight.
Yes.
We don't know what those recommendations really say.
that's what we want to do at the full parking district board, yes, is bring that set of recommendations for everyone to have like at least 1 month, probably multiple months worth of discussion about what that. So are you on the board, Scott? You are. And if not, you have a
we have a representative from the
Yeah.
planning group, but I would just like to make a motion that this could make recommendations, because we don't have really any I don't think we want preconceived notions from previous meetings that weren't part of this discussion.
I second the motion.
Right, yeah, and that's the intent for Diamond Street specifically. The intent is recommendations coming out of what we've talked about today.
On this topic, who gets to make the decision? Is it the residents? Is it this foursome of people that work on community boards? Is it the greater community? Is it the city, Joe LaCava? Who gets to decide?
It's, in terms of the recommendations specifically related to this project, it lives under the Community Parking District Board. So the board of that district, which includes representatives from the town council, the planning group, Beautiful PB, and Discover PB, and then community reps at large, that is the board that would make a decision about any recommendations related to the work of this subcommittee. But it's a volunteer board, it doesn't have ultimately the streets belong to the city. So those recommendations would then go to city staff for, them to decide if that's something that they can implement. It's not, we don't own the streets as a community, they're city streets. So in some ways, ultimately the decision lies with city staff, but they do rely heavily on what the community is saying that they want to hear.
But they never asked the
Never
community
asked us.
for any input before they made the decision.
Through the parking
to put the
district
bollards
in
up
this
on
case.
Diamond Street.
Okay.
We don't ask about every stop sign either.
Okay, let's one at a time.
Okay, so.
Go ahead.
So we have no idea who at the city made the decision to put the bollards in.
Faulkner.
Yes, that was the
Faulkner?
original for closing the
Well,
street.
sorry, it was the PB community group.
Wait, I want to hear from someone that is part of the organizing of this meeting. So do you know who at the city made the decision to put the bollards on Diamond Street?
My understanding is it was city planning and transportation staff that ultimately had to say over the design based on the input that they've received to date from the planning group and the campus.
Okay, do any of those people live in PB?
Alyssa Muda does.
I don't know, but that, I don't know.
Okay.
the answer to that.
All right, I'll hunt it down.
Scott, go ahead.
Okay, so there were half a dozen or more slow streets when this one got put in. They all got removed. I think it would be helpful to understand who made the decision to remove all of those and ask why this one is not being removed when all the others were. How did they get them removed then? And why can't we do it now? Because somebody made those decisions, and every one of those slow streets, a decision was made to remove it. That's the process. What is that process?
I don't know.
I understand
the
that, but it
background
should
story
be
of those other streets, but.
It should be
it's a fair
part of the
question,
next
understanding
discussion. How
process,
did
yeah.
the other streets get removed? And is there a reason why we shouldn't be doing the same
What
process
is the
here?
pathway for it?
Thank you.
If you have a pathway for implementing it, what is the pathway for not?
So-
What do we need to prove?
So my question is, if you're the representative from the parking district, correct?
And from the city sustainability and mobility.
Okay, so that's not the parking district.
Right,
And
parking
so then-
district, who here sits on the board besides me? Ryan does, Chris does.
No, I'm not.
There's a couple of our board members here, but there's more, every community group has at least two, and then there's community representatives as well. So
It's 11 or?
I don't know how big that is.
I think we have 12.
It's like 2 from each quadrant of
More
just
than you
residents,
are.
and then there's a few other slots, yeah.
Oh, yeah, Dan, you're on it too.
Yeah.
So that's who's on the parking district, go ahead.
I'm on 1058 Diamond, and between 20 and, say, 2021, I've been asked by people within the city at least 4 times what my position was on the slow street. So I know I've heard people say that they've never been asked to live on the street or live in the neighborhood, but I have been asked several times by city people or groups.
How?
How do they find
How were you contacted?
I'm on the street, or they're on the street with sheets stopping people. That's happened twice. Once by the rec center and once
Oh,
by
wait,
the other
you
side.
don't work, that means you don't work, you're at home all day.
Okay, guys, let's please be respectful, and we don't need to start quite a
see what's happening on Diamond. And you know that makes me lazy and a not productive citizen of the community. I'm sorry, but I can tell you I haven't asked. I haven't asked.
Guys, all right. We're devolving. We gotta move on to non-agenda public comment. I'm so sorry, but we gotta stick to our agenda. And I want this to remain a positive meeting as well. So we have a big group. So we're gonna ask that you limit it to 2 minutes on non-agenda. So things that we have not talked about, that other things are important in PB besides just what we talked about today. This is your opportunity to provide comments, share things that might be happening, whatever. We have about 15 minutes, so hopefully we can get to everyone, but if you can just try to keep it to about 2 minutes.
Do we
I'll
want
just
to
go around the room.
run a timer or?
If, we'll see.
Okay, we'll see.
Go ahead.
And Katie, how many of these civic groups are you involved with? About 3 or 4 of them?
I am personally involved in 2.
Decisions? You're more than that. You're in the parking, you're in the
Parking and
beautiful
beautiful
community.
beauty. That's it.
That's all?
I know. It feels like more sometimes. That's it, just those 2.
What is your job? Do you work for the city?
No,
Do you work in sustainability and mobility?
No, I'm a at-large community planner. I don't work in San Diego at all.
Do you live on Diamond?
No, but there's like that's public comment, non-agenda, not where I live. Go ahead.
I want to know what we need to do to take back the boardwalk from e-scooters, one-wheel, e-bikes. I don't know. There was one day, and one day only, where I was amazed. There were 2 sets of 2 cops actually writing tickets.
On the boardwalk.
On the boardwalk. And I couldn't believe it. I stopped, they wrote the ticket, and I said, is this real? You know, because it seems like a dream. And they said they were going to be on the boardwalk every day for 8 hours. I saw them one time.
Okay.
So what do we need to do to reclaim the boardwalk?
Okay.
Who do we
My
talk to?
question. Some people are here listening. I don't know the answer to that off the top of my head, but I think that's a good comment to share.
Who here would I talk to? Okay,
You can
I'll
talk
go
to me,
one
ask
after.
your PB rep, you could also talk to your media relations officer in the police department.
Is there a community group we need to go to?
Well, I talked to Joe at the La Jolla Farmers Market, and he didn't do nothing.
All right. I gotta keep it moving because we got other people who want to speak. Scott, non-agenda public comment.
Yep, I'm very concerned about the middle school students mostly riding their e-bikes, 25 plus miles per hour, 2 on a bike, no helmets. It bothers me that somebody, well, I'd like to know, who directed traffic to come and give tickets for people who are ignoring the bollards and is not ticketing bicyclists who ride through stop signs and these kids who are riding without helmets and 2 on a bike at 25 miles an hour. So I think it's very concerning that the residents in PB were targeted on Diamond Street for tickets, but they're not enforcing equally very dangerous situations.
Okay. Thank you. As a middle school parent, I share your concern. Please.
Larry Turner, who's a sergeant or lieutenant in San Diego PD, they spoke here's the problem we're running into in San Diego, is that San Diego Police Department is down 400 officers for 5 years. And that's why he's running for office.
Okay.
Who's running for office?
Larry Turner. He's the guy.
Okay. We're gonna just keep coming around. Jennifer.
That's okay. You're going
Okay,
around.
who's next? We got 9 more minutes, so please.
This is a little bit like we were talking about, but so my kids go to school in La Jolla. We live in PB. The bike paths do not connect. A lot of times they disconnect within PB, and then when you're trying to go from like North PB to Bird Rock, they just